You've got it turned on for recording. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at you, but it's not for
Sorry.
too many laptops here. Okay. All right. I got it. All right. And we'll do this. Can you, if you need to see, can you guys see that? Let's see. And I'll
Don't need to see it. We'll need to hear it, but we won't
do
need to see it.
yeah, do the full screen. And you heard Christian when he was talking?
I don't think Brittany heard him when he was talking.
Well, I'll try to turn the volume up then as loud as it'll go. Let's see. It's not all the way up. As long as it doesn't start making funny noises. All right. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Harlem Township Zoning Commission to order. And Ashley, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mike Kavler,
Here.
Joni Mason,
That's in here.
he,
Here.
Brittany is a Hobridge, Hopper, here, and Louis Greenville, Greenwell, and Alan Ziegel. Here.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ashley. That was a roll call of the board members. And before we go further, we have other officials of the township here this evening. Mike Cannon is the Director of Zoning. Jim Steelsmith is our Economic Development Director. And then Ashley Zaruba, who is the zoning assistant, and she will be taking our notes this evening. And I will periodically ask Ashley a question. Since this is the first time she's done it, we may have to improvise at that point too, Ashley. Once we get into the hearing. For the conduct of the meeting, we would ask that if members of the audience wish to speak, we will have you come closer to this laptop that's sitting up here in front of Mr. Greenwell, because I think that is the laptop on which the recording is being made. Is that correct, Ashley? So that microphone should pick up anyone who wishes to make any comments. And then if there's members of the public who are online, you'll be provided the opportunity to participate later in the meeting, and during the hearing, you will also be provided that opportunity, and I will identify at the point in time when that's appropriate. And we'll want to make sure that you have that opportunity and that whatever comments you wish to make are indeed being recorded. Are there any new applications being submitted tonight? Mike, were you aware of anything coming in? No. Okay, well, that's good. Then we'll go forward. We will recess for the hearing in approximately 8 minutes. But in the meantime, let me see if there's any other reports that need to be made. Mike, you have a report for this evening? No? Okay. How about you, Mr. Steele Smith?
Nothing here yet, good stuff, Chairman, but quite ready.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The only thing that I would share, if the rest of you on the commission have not yet been made aware of, our Valerie Hamill is no longer working in the township, and at least on an interim basis, Ashley will be filling her role as our zoning secretary. And that's why she's here tonight, and she's prepared all the materials that we needed for our meeting this evening. And thank you, Ashley. We appreciate your stepping up to do that. That's not part of your normal responsibility, so you're doing double duty now. Is there any report, Joni, that you need to make this evening?
No.
Okay. Any other commission members have anything that they want to share? Okay, very good. let's take a look at the minutes, see if we can possibly complete that. Everyone received them in the mail. I know that input has been made. We have a copy that's been provided. I guess we have both a red line copy, which has some changes that are noted. New language was in red font, and then strikeouts are there, and then we have a clean copy. Okay, well, let's go through it here then. Let's see if we can get through it quickly. And if so, we will. If not, we'll stop at a point and then come back to it after the hearing. But are there any additional changes that are on page 1 that are not in the red line copy?
Yeah, Louis found that one that it should have been Bob Singer, not Mike Singer.
Oh, yes, that was, I remember Louis pointing that one out. It should be, it's not Mike Singer, but Bob Singer.
Yeah.
Anything else on page 1? Yeah. Oh. Okay.
She sent stuff that didn't get in to this.
Yeah, I heard her say that. I know that's what I thought she had it up already, but I was wrong. Tom, did you submit changes late? Okay. Well, I shouldn't say late. They weren't really late, just later, I should say.
On the second page, the third paragraph,
So you're on the second page, third paragraph.
and discuss. It's a, let me utilize that. It's hard to tell because somebody else that showed up in blue, and I also showed up.
I don't have anything new on the stuff that Ashley just gave us.
I know, as I'm saying, I don't know why it opened up on my computer and some of it showed in blue and then mine also showed on.
Okay.
I think that's all I've got. No,
Okay.
let's take it back.
Page, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. In the, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 line from the bottom where it says Ms. Hopper discussed the potential of residential complaints issued with the businesses. I changed that a little bit because my concern was with the traffic disturbances from the businesses, not from the businesses themselves. So I had totally changed that sentence.
Are you talking about the sentence that starts with Mr. Need?
No,
Right under Mr. Needs.
I just felt the way it was listed misrepresented as well, that in discussion.
So what do you want it to?
About, so I want it to be. Ms. Hovrick discussed the potential of residential complaints issues with traffic and disturbances from businesses if placed further away from the road.
Oh, wait a minute.
residential area.
I'm sure that's more than she's got.
Yeah, so you can see. Okay. I'll just put that I have something there and I'll just.
So with just state it again, so we all know if we're going to approve it, what was the.
Traffic and disturbances from the businesses if placed further away from the road residential area. The discussion was in relation to with the 1,000 feet away from the road.
Okay, everyone heard what Brittany was offering.
That's fine.
Any questions about it? Okay. So any other changes, Brittany?
Not that page.
Okay, that's page 2, page 3.
No.
Okay, page 4. No changes on 4. Sorry, I'm not trying to rush you, but well,
No,
I am sort of. But just wanted, if you're ready to move forward, basically, is the
Yeah.
question. Okay, so page 4 is okay. Page 5.
yeah. It's not what I'm doing.
Nothing on 5. Okay, 6.
Fourth paragraph down, Ms. Cavler asked if there was any additional comments. I changed that to a word, any additional comments? Mine was not full or changed. That's all I. Okay. Pretty sure.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah,
Anybody have any questions for Brittany regarding any of the suggested changes that she's on? Okay.
Make a motion to approve the October 14th minutes as corrected.
I have a motion, and Louis seconded. Moved by Joni, seconded by Louis. Any further discussion or questions? All right, hearing none, and all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, the motion's approved. The minutes for our workshop meeting on October 14th are approved as corrected. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
and there is no consistency. It's not still.
No.
Going forward. Think we're at a point. Yes, we are. We will recess our regular meeting and open the hearing for application HTCC 2409 for Dave and Belinda Jackson. Okay, would you call the roll again now for the hearing?
Mike Kavler,
Here.
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Brittany Hopper, here. Louis Greenwell.
Here.
And Alan Seacoast.
Here. All right, the hearing is now officially in session. Let me just briefly explain the hearing purpose, rules, and procedures. Commission members will comment and or ask initial questions. There will be no public interaction at this time. When this is finished, the public will have the opportunity to comment and or ask questions. During this time, please observe the following procedures. Step forward so that if you're in the room with us this evening, that we'll be able to pick your voice up on the computer for recording purposes, and also so that anyone that is on Zoom can hear your comments. Only one person can speak at a time. At the time that you come forward, please give your name and address so that the secretary can record that information. Please be brief and be factual. And please do not repeat a point or question previously addressed and or asked. Remember, only one person can be heard at a time, so do not interrupt the speaker. Please do not carry on your own conversation while an individual is speaking. If there is a group wishes to be heard, please have a spokesperson for that group. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to review the application to determine if the application contains all the required information, if the required property owners adjacent to, across from, have all been notified, if the application meets the requirements for the proposed district, and if the proposed change conforms with the township comprehensive plan. Detailed plans are not required in changing from AR1 to FR1 for individual lots, driveways, septic systems, or surface water. The rezoning process involves multiple steps and agencies. Our hearing is the first step. Our recommendation for approval or disapproval goes to the township trustees. If approved by the trustees, then the applicant must go to County Health Department for septic system approval, Delaware County Regional Planning Commission for plat approval. In this case, it's a no plat proposal. To the Regional Planning Commission and County Engineer for driveway location, County Engineer Soil Water Conservation District for drainage, and the Township Zoning Inspector for the zoning permit. The zoning inspector will review all the approvals of the other agencies and the site plan for size, frontage, and setbacks. Once he finds that these things are in accordance with the requirements, he can issue the zoning permit. When construction occurs, the property owner must provide for surface drainage that complies with the plan and does not increase water flow onto a neighbor's property. If any concerns of that nature arise, the neighboring property owner should contact the zoning inspector, who will refer them to the appropriate authority. Okay, with that in mind, then we will move forward with the application review. Since Ashley is new at this, I'm not going to put the question to her if the application is on the correct form. We will look at it. Anyone think it's not on the correct form on the zoning commission?
No,
I believe it's on the correct. All right. The applicant or agent has signed the request for the rezoning, and the specific zoning request is the current zoning is AR1. The requested change is to change the zoning from AR1 to FR1. And it is to rezone a gross acreage of 2.325 acres, a net acreage of 2.035 acres. Okay, have all the adjacent, adjoining, contiguous, and across from property owners been notified? Do you know, Ashley?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Okay, and were there any of those letters returned, you know? Okay. Right, well, that's good, if only one was returned. Are the- excuse
you
me.
skip number 4. The correct legal description.
Well, we've got to go back to that, yes. I haven't done that. Now we need to go to the commission and review whether there was a legal description furnished in text and map, and do they reinforce each other?
Both were provided and they do reinforce each other.
Were there any issues noted by anyone regarding the legal description or the drawing of the property? Plat plan. The plat. No? Everything's in order? Good. Next question, are there any non-notified property owners present here this evening, either present or on Zoom? No, heard no comment. Actually, did you receive any signed or notarized waivers for non-notified property owners? All right. Members of the commission. Are there any other potential errors that were noted in the
No.
application?
No,
No errors were noted. I saw a chair go up over there from Mr. Clace, whose signature is on the application because he's acting for the owner as a power of attorney to do that. And he has copies of that power of attorney. All right, very good. Now, the recommendation from Delaware Regional Planning Commission, I think, all received a copy of that.
Yep.
And for the record, I'll find the recommendation and read it into the record.
on page 2.
Yeah, I'm looking to see what I want to read.
Page 2 lines.
The staff recommendations regarding the application reads as follows. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning request by David and Belinda Jackson from AR1 to FR1 to the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission and the Harlem Township Zoning Commission and the Harlem Township Trustees. Mr. Price made a motion to recommend approval of the rezoning request by David and Belinda Jackson. It was seconded by Mr. Vidor at the Regional Planning Commission, and it was unanimously approved for. So there were no conditions specified. Mr. Clace, at this point, do you have any information that you would like to present to the commission?
Unless I shall, we shall.
Yeah, Caleb. When that furnace came on, it really presents a problem, all that white noise.
So, no, I appreciate you guys' time and I would say it's look be one comprehensive plan. We did identify that we're outside of the structural setbacks. There are some silos, agricultural structures might use with the standard setback, but they're agriculturally exempt. And I got I'm big on the camera here, so it's intimidating. But I'll say, if you have any questions, here to answer those. We did give notice to an ample amount of people with this application, so we realize if there's any comments in regards to the nature of it. It is splitting the existing house, so it will not be creating an additional build site outside of the farm itself as a residential tract. But it's their goal to transfer the house as they both move forward. So that if there's a new parcel that were split previously, this would be an addition to that.
Hey, Joe, do you have any idea if this affects their standing as a Century Farm?
I do not believe it will. I think that's a good question. I have a little familiarity with Century Farms, but not in relationship to this property. But as far as I understand, it can be the majority of the share, but it's not the actual homestead. So I live in my great grandpa's farm, and it's my understanding because of the family as a farm, not necessarily just our home, that if they can qualify. So if it becomes, I can ask clients, not quite sure on. But yeah, it should remain as a.
I hope so.
Good heritage. So
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Yes, thank you.
Cool. All right. If you have any questions, I'm here.
One of the, not really zoning issue, the existing driveway is going to remain.
Yes. I look here. The existing drive will remain. That's my understanding that this will still provide access to the farm, so to cross access that was reported even to allow that way. This property.
So there'll be continued access for the farms in the back that are not.
Correct.
part of the later.
Yes,
So still come through.
correct. Yes, the integral drive for the farm, so. Believe it, from what I understood, the statement thing just wanted to, just get it all separate, so they can eat it separately.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Okay, any other questions? All right, hearing none. And going forward, we'll open the hearing at this time then to the public. Are there any members of the public either present or on Zoom that have a question or comment that they would like to make? Providing the opportunity, at this point, no one is giving an indication they have any comments or questions. So at this point then, I'll close the public portion of the hearing and come back to the zoning commission. Well, the zoning commission members, what is your pleasure at this point? Do you have any further questions, or is there a motion to be made?
I do have one more question for Joe.
Okay, go ahead.
On the map, it shows STS number 1. Or I assume that's, I don't know. That's where primary septic would be located.
Secondary, so it's my understanding that there's only one test. The existing septic, the primary exists on the north side.
Right.
So the secondary STS1 would be secondary system.
Okay, so that's not, they're not talking about switching or.
Correct, yeah, so he's preserving an area there that it could be utilized for the beaver farm to the south, so. It would continue, assuming be farmed, just an area that we had to be food in the direction.
Gotcha, okay.
And provide secondary setting.
Any other questions for the applicant? Or any other comments? Okay, what is the pleasure of the zoning commission at this point regarding application HTC 2409?
Mr. Chairman, inasmuch as application HTZC 24-09 conforms to the intent of the Harlem Township Comprehensive Plan and appears to meet all applicable aspects of the Harlem Township zoning resolution, I move that the Harlem Township Zoning Commission recommend to the Harlem Township Board of Trustees that said application be approved.
Thank you, Joni. Moved by Joni Manson. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Tom Need. Further discussion on the motion now. No questions or comments? All right, hearing none, then we'll move forward with a vote on the motion, and this will be a roll call vote. So Ashley, if you'll call the roll. Aye.
Aye.
Tom Mead,
Aye.
Brittany Hopper. Aye. Louis Greenwald,
Aye.
Okay,
Alan Zago.
he doesn't vote because he's an alternate.
Oh.
And we have 5 members. If a member were absent, he could fill in and he would have voting options at that point. Okay. Thank you, Ashley. All right, the motion has been approved. And with that, we will move the recommendation forward to the trustees. Joe, you're familiar with that process. They will set a hearing date within 30 days of receipt of our recommendation to them. And once they have that recommendation as to when that hearing will be, you can find out by contacting Ashley. She'll be the person who would have that information available. They will hold the hearing within 10 days after the notice is published in the Delaware Gazette. If approved by the trustees, The zoning amendment becomes effective 30 days after its approval unless a referendum petition is presented to the trustees. And that referendum petition would require 8% of the registered voters in Harlem Township who voted in the last gubernatorial election. So with that, everything is moving forward, and we'll take a motion to adjourn the hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Joni to adjourn the hearing, second,
Second.
seconded by Tom. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. The hearing is closed, adjourned, and we will go back to our regular meeting at this point. Okay, on the agenda, we've reviewed the minutes. And the next item on the agenda is the People's Choice Storage. Can you hear me, Christian?
I sure can. Can you hear me as well?
Okay, very good. We have on Zoom Christian Fence. Am I pronouncing the name correctly? Okay.
Close enough, Bratz. Yeah.
The reason that we are having this discussion is there's been a request submitted. We have it in letter form. Let's I'll bring that up here. For a minor modification of the development plan for the property located at 10816 Fancher Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082. And at this point, let me just quickly review what you have stated in your letter. I think this is signed by you, Christian. Yes, it is.
Correct.
Okay. And with that, the only change that is being requested in the development plan is a change in section 2B, which they are requesting be stricken in its entirety and replaced with the following paragraph. That paragraph that would replace it will read 2(b) hours of operation. The storage facility will be open to tenants from the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. each day. During non-business hours, the storage facility will not be accessible by existing or new tenants. The facility may be manned by an on-site property manager. New rentals will be made by new tenants either through the on-site property manager or via an on-site kiosk, daytime telephone number, website, or phone app. That is the language that's being proposed to replace the original lot.
Different, has a little bit different wording. They both have the same date, but I'm confused why there's two different. Was one an update or something?
The one I'm looking at is dated October the 2nd.
I know,
So all of
I actually had this one in our folder that is a little bit different, worded a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Than that one you read.
The one you read is the one that we looked at last week, just
wondering
briefly.
Which one this?
There's a slightly different one.
I'm trying to find the new one then. Oh,
The difference between the two is one says the facility may be manned, and the newer one says owner may have an on-site property manager located.
Yeah, that's the only difference.
That's the basics of that change. But the one that was provided and signed, this one was draft, it wasn't signed.
So the one we got last time was the draft, and then the. I'm getting rid of that.
okay. Well, then I need to find exactly where the language is different so that we can correct that for the minutes.
Looks like it's starting in the third sentence, and the last two sentences are slightly different.
Okay, the part that's been added owner may have an on-site property manager located at the storage facility. That's the sentence.
That's
That
the
is
new one.
different. Doesn't say shall have, it says may have. So the wording that I read, the sentence that's deleted, is the facility may be manned by an on-site property manager. That now reads, owner may have an on-site property manager located at the storage facility. Christian,
Next sentence is slightly different too.
what's different?
The next sentence is slightly different also.
Oh, the
Not
next
the back.
sentence says, instead of it saying new rentals, it says new tenants will make new rentals either through the on-site property manager or via an on-site kiosk, daytime telephone number, website, and or phone app. Okay. So the paragraph that we're talking about is still the same paragraph. Nothing's changed in that regard. But some of the wording has changed in this latest version. Anybody have a question now for Christian? He's online with us here, so you can hear us, right?
Yep, I sure can. Thanks for that. And I'm
Welcome.
happy to provide any type of clarification.
Sure.
Mainly what we're looking to try to accomplish is the terminology of manned versus unmanned. Having somebody on site based upon what we've seen in our experience at other properties, it allows us to have, much more control. It's going to improve the safety and security of this property, for the neighbors, for the rest of the community. There will be added an improved cleanliness of the property itself, better customer service, and better informed communication by somebody on site to oversee the operations and how the facility is managed. So that's the intent and the goal. And even the term unmanned, although it's I think it pertains to when I looked at the development plan initially, it seems as if that's more geared towards the rentals. We'll still have somebody that has to go cut grass and keep the place clean, but by having an on-site manager, we'll have the added safety there as well to be able to make this a better property within the community and amongst the neighbors. So that is the intent, and I'm happy to answer any other questions as well, or provide you with further details.
All right. Thank you, Christian.
And the on-site manager will only be there during the business hours? Is that correct?
So typically in the business, and I'm happy to provide more clarification for you as well on the hours. There's a very seasonal nature of the business. The first and end of the month are typically busier for rentals in the self-storage business. The intent is, and pretty much industry standard, you typically see properties open 6 days a week from 9 o'clock till 6 p.m. That being said, during peak or trough periods of time, maybe their person won't be on site, that whole 8 hours or 9 hours during that time. So the intent for us would be able to have the opportunity to have someone on site 5 or 6 days a week, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. would generally be the schedule there. So that would be what I would consider office hours. And then tenant access hours are typically, outside of when a property manager would be there.
Tenants will only continue to have access or will have access according to this paragraph from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. each day. And the person who will be on site will be there for what hours?
So again, it generally depends. If I look at some of the competitors within a 5 or 10 mile radius, you'll see folks that will keep somebody on site, Sunday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. On weekends, they may have abbreviated hours, but Saturdays are very busy days for us. I would love to have the ability, in case there is a busy time of year, to have somebody on site on Monday as opposed to Tuesday through Saturday only. But currently, Tuesday through Saturday is when we feel is the best to have staff on site at the property, just given when it's frequented the most by customers and tenants.
Okay, I guess now I have a question to the members of the zoning commission, since this issue is being discussed. Is there someone that is suggesting that it be specified here as to the hours that the person will be on site? Is that requested? It's not in here in the wording as part of the development plan. So my question to you is, I'm not sure what the issue is, if there is one.
I don't have that. I think that's a business decision, not a zoning decision.
Yeah, I would say that as long as they're within those hours listed, that would be okay. I wouldn't want them being there at midnight or something.
Yeah, well, that no one should be there, I guess, at times other than 7 to 9 p.m. unless there's an emergency of some kind.
Nor do we want to pay somebody to be there sitting there twiddling their thumbs during non-business hours. So
Yeah, it's
Right.
not, you're not hiring them to be a night watch.
that's exactly right.
I'm sorry, is there someone back there that wishes to speak? Well, come forward and we will allow you to ask a question or make a comment.
Please state your name and address first.
I am Juanita Burke. I live at 10745 Fancher Road across the street from your facility. We said this like you wouldn't believe y'all was there. They have no water there. They have no toilets. They have nothing, you remember? Plus, and the lights stay on all day, all night. Or not all day, I'm sorry, but all night.
Are they not downlit?
They are not downlit. They're supposed to go down at 9 o'clock. They do not.
Well,
Then there's,
when she means downlighting, she means that the lighting is direct reflected to the ground. Well, that needs to be something then that would be followed up, because that's not something that would be changed here. It's already in the,
yeah,
No, it was in there.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. If it's in the plan and it's being violated, then you need to make a complaint to the zoning inspector so he can follow up on it.
And they're just talking about that guy, that person working there for 8, 9 hours. I'm thinking, where they gonna go back? Because we know y'all was there. There's no water. There's no bathroom. They don't even have porta potty. They're not supposed to have. I'm thinking that poor people's gotta go to the creek out back, I guess. But that was basically my question. Where are they gonna go to the bath? Or use water baths? And that one time, there was 3 o'clock in the morning, there was somebody in the back here with a bonfire. A little fire. I'm just saying. It's not.
on this property,
Their property.
Okay, well, that's
those are
something
zoning
that,
violations. That's zoning violations.
yeah, and well, and it should be reported to the police at that time of the night anyway. Call the sheriff's office if you ever see that happen again, would be my suggestion.
Like if you follow the rules, saying.
Oh, right, well, that's what we're here about and what we're talking about in terms of making this change.
And I know we're like the only ones, but that's because everybody else is like, they have the same complaint, they're coming to us. So, you know, it's just what it is.
Okay,
Thank you.
well, thank you.
Look,
Uh,
and I somewhere. So, there's no.
Christian,
Sure. Yep.
what's the issue? I had not realized that there potentially was an issue. I thought Mr. Cannon had indicated to us there was a restroom facility there.
There's no on-site restroom at the property itself.
That's why we asked them to not man it before.
That must be what the decision was at the time, yeah. But they decided that they wouldn't put a person there because of the absence of a restroom and
Water.
facilities, water facility, so. for the person to be present. So I don't know that Mr. Cannon, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Yeah, question.
Oh,
You wanna
Come up.
okay, and please come forward again, please. I'm sorry to have to do that, but we don't have the equipment here otherwise.
The rule was set, when all this started, you remember? That there was nobody allowed to be on that facility at any time, it had to be all. They was allowed to be the people there, and that was it. They not have nobody there in that office. They tried to make that office, that's what they did, people that told it to these people here. They made that office, I watched. They thought they was going to get away with it, so they turned around, they sold to these people. So now these people think they can put people in there, that's not the way the rules is written. Rules is written. And nobody allowed to be on that phone, period.
That is correct. That's the way it is currently. What they're requesting is that a change be made in the development plan.
I disagree with. The rule was made, the rule should be followed.
They may request a modification. It's up to them. If they choose to make that request, they may do so, and then
Right.
we have to consider it. Currently, correct.
He's saying, I got this told that zone guy,
Yes, currently they would be in violation of the development plan because that's in the development plan, that there is no one on site.
yeah, right. Online. Now they got an outhouse back here, they set trash cans out there, and there is people there. Alright, regardless, there shouldn't.
You're correct. Under the current rules, which is part of the development plan. Thank you. Okay. I'm not sure at this point in terms of
Can I say something?
health regulations.
I did want to hit them up because I stopped over there. Christian, I stopped over and talked to your person that's in the building.
Yep.
And they had discussed with me before about these lighting issues. They said it's lighting up the whole neighborhood. I talked to her, she said that all of the systems were functioning and they're on timers, and she can't check and change those. Can you follow up with her and make sure that those lights aren't blasting over the neighbors? Because that is a big, I didn't need to stay for this whole discussion, but that is a big issue that they're having. Those lights are bright. I've been there by there at night, and it does light up the whole side of somebody's house on the west side, which it does say that your west side's lights are supposed to go off. Now, I don't know if there are lights inside that are going over there, but if that's the case, and it's lighting that house up, it's gotta be a quarter mile from it. Yeah.
Sure.
If
Yeah.
it's lighting that house up, they definitely aren't down with it.
And we are we have already done so. We're already looking into that to make sure that is remedied and that is fixed, because you're absolutely right. And so that is something that we're absolutely getting taken care of. So that will be remedied and alleviated going forward for sure.
Yeah. There's a couple other issues. I got a complaint saying that somebody's running business out of there, coming and getting their trucks every morning and pulling it up. Maybe so I'm gonna go down and check that out. If you want to get a head start on that, that'd be great, but I gotta check that out this coming week, so
Yeah, that wasn't permitted either.
just a heads up. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's actually something that we can consider when making the decision, or is that?
That's a health issue.
No, okay,
Well,
I'm just asking for my own. You know,
I think it's a legitimate question in terms of asking how it would be addressed. I'm not sure that as a business you can even operate without a restaurant legally.
I don't think
Healthy
we can.
I think OSHA.
I don't think you
have
can.
part on restroom facilities.
That's what I would thought. And under Ohio rule, I mean, that's not specifically our decision, but it is a requirement. Possibly, it'd have to be looked into.
I'm pretty sure that is a regulation.
Yeah, have you looked into that on your end, Christian, in terms of since there is no facility there, whether it is in fact a legal requirement that you would have to provide for?
Uh, we certainly will. We have an operations team that's in charge of a lot of that, and I will confirm that everything is done in accordance with how it needs to be and also in accordance with law. So I will certainly make sure that we are in compliance there as well.
Well, given the new issues that have really been kind of introduced or discussed here this evening, it would be my recommendation that in terms of it, we simply table any action on this to a future date when you can get additional information. And
Yeah,
then,
I would not approve this without facilities in the building and the lighting issue addressed for the neighbors.
well, the lighting issue has nothing to do with their request.
Well,
That's a separate issue
it still
that
wouldn't,
would be dealt
yeah,
with.
it's still they're not complying with their plan, so I'm not necessarily inclined to allow a new change too.
Well, I'm saying that that's an issue and Mike has addressed it. He is following up on it. And it is an issue of compliance and enforcement. This is right now, in terms of the person who's there, that's a violation. That's why it was brought to Mike's attention in the first place. So the issue would be at this point for us is that we're not in a position to approve a change in terms of approving a modification at this time. So that means that so far as the operation is concerned, it's still in violation
So
until such time as this gets addressed.
you saying there needs to be a hard lung service or porta potty?
Well, I'm not saying anything about the facility. Joni is at this point saying that she wants a facility, a toilet facility there.
Not a porta potty. I mean.
I don't know whether
They have
what
to
the legal
comply.
requirements are.
Yeah, whatever.
If they're legally required to, if they're going to want to have someone on site, they're legally required to have a facility there
Not ideal.
that I'm not sure a porta potty would suffice. But that's something that's decided not by, it's not a zoning issue, that's a health issue, health department. So until we get that issue addressed, we're not going to be moving forward with an approval of a minor modification to have staff there.
Right.
Is everyone in agreement with that? Christian, my recommendation to you then is that you need to do the follow-up on your end with regard to what is required in terms of health regulations, since you're going to have someone on duty there for roughly an 8 or 9 hour day.
Okay. Yep.
And then we'll come back to discuss this again, but for now, the issue is not resolved. You do not have approval for a person to be on site. So that means that Mr. Cannon will continue to follow up with you while you are in violation on that issue. And you've already begun to address the lighting issue that was introduced. And that too is something that you will follow up with him. It's not something that we meaning the zoning commission, need to deal with directly when it comes to the lighting issue. That is something that whatever the development plan required, that's what Mr. Cannon would be enforcing. Do you have any questions, Mr. Freds?
No, I do not. Thank you for your time this evening and everyone else's as well.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm glad we were able to do this via Zoom. Obviously, we will follow up again once you have that additional information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. All right. Going back to our agenda. Mr. Cannon. At one time, we were looking at a possible change in the non-conforming uses. And then my latest discussion with you was that you didn't think that we needed to make any changes.
Yeah, you talk about non-conforming lots.
Right. on the non-conforming lots.
Being as far as the frontage.
That's the one, that's the issue. You had followed up with the attorney.
You not changing. We flip back. And now it's back to, that needs to just go as a variance to BZA, so that's not it.
So,
Don't worry.
yeah, we're not going to be looking at making a change in the zoning resolution.
Yeah.
With, if there is an issue with a lot not meeting the frontage requirements, that will need to be addressed by going to the BZA.
For variance.
Okay,
Right now, that's their only option.
all right. That's what I wanted to verify so that all of the zoning commission members would have the same information.
That is,
Okay, thank you. And now we'll go to the public comments portion, and I think that we have Mario Cappuccio. Am I close? I'm sorry, Mario. And Mr. Messer. I know that we had talked about having a preliminary meeting and then we canceled it, but I communicated through Mr. Cannon that if you had questions, you could come tonight and we would be able to answer questions because you did not want to submit anything to us in writing. Yes, please do.
thank you for allowing us to. That'd be helpful, brought some photos for each of you guys. Okay. There you go, Ray. No, sure. Just really briefly, just a little quick history. Mr. Cavazia has a concrete storage use on his property at 12039 Center Village Road. He stores some of his concrete trucks and has a small office. He purchased the property back in 2019. At that time, you'll see from the pictures there, the first picture was just the existing structure that was on the property. As you scroll back through the pictures, you can see the second building that Mr. Carpaccia added.
Like the two-story building is the one that's been added?
The next page, right? That's
This.
that building. That was added back in 2019. Mr. Carpaccia submitted plans for that building. Zoning approved the building at the time in 2019, and he's been using it ever since then. So he got a letter from from Mike, basically saying that his use of the property is not in compliance with his current zoning, which makes sense because his zoning is AR1. Mr. Carpaccia didn't realize that how he's been using his property for the last 5 or 6 years constituted any violation. He bought the property with no residence on it, just had a storage building. He got zoning approval to build a second storage building. So this all has came as a surprise to him. He contacted me just from my experience in zoning and just if I could help him figure out how he just wants to be in compliance. He's a good resident, a good neighbor. He's been operating this business for several years. And it was suggested that we rezone this to a PCD and specifically allow him to use his property for that commercial use of storing his concrete trucks and having this small office. So that's what our preliminary meeting was about. My confusion just stems from, I've got all of the materials that were requested for a preliminary meeting. You just had a nice call talking about a development plan. We're just trying to figure out what it is that he needs to submit. There's no new proposed development at all. So when I look at the list, everything that I've highlighted here pertains to new development. There's no new utilities, there's no new permits, there's no buildings, there's no anything. So I just want to be.
There's a new use is what the issue is.
There is a new, I suppose you could say there's a new use, even though it's existed for several years.
But it was supposed to be.
Zoning, he
Yeah,
wants to establish it.
yes.
So what I just want to be responsive to all the members here is, what is it that we need to submit? For you to review in terms of the use or development plan pertaining to that new use. Like I said, there's no new utilities or traffic patterns or, there's nothing that we're proposing.
The-
just trying to understand what.
Yeah, but the development plan needs to lay out what exists. If it's not new, you have to lay out what does exist. Because we do need all this information, which will become your new zoning.
Yeah, so we've turned in a site plan showing the entire site, we've turned in all the normal things that that you would need for an existing use, but.
There's no narrative describing what it is that the use is going to be.
You
There's a
really need to-
lot of things.
yeah.
The hours are not specified.
Yeah, so that'd be helpful, so you need the hours to specify,
Well, those are all things that are part of a development plan.
okay.
Yeah.
And
You
didn't
need an
Mike, he's
existing.
gone now, but didn't Mike give you 2 samples to look at in
What
terms of?
my thinking were for projects that were building something new.
But those are examples of development plans.
Yeah,
The development plan
developing a new
describes
use.
exactly what it is that the property is going to be used for. As far as we're concerned right now, the uses that are there are in violation.
okay,
And that means that basically, so far as the use, if we're going to look at changing from agriculture to something else, we need to know what it is that the use, you've verbally described it, but that won't do it. You have to put all that in writing. And right now, we haven't seen anything in writing other than
well,
the drawing that you submitted.
October the 22nd, submitted a summary of what you just described. It indicates what the buildings are due for, how many trucks are there, the hours that the trucks are parked.
We don't have any of that.
I don't know where that document is, but all we have is this.
August 15th.
Yeah, there was a supplemental submittal. We don't have any of that.
This.
Yeah, there was a supplemental submittal where we turned in a lot of other information. This was the summary of all the activities, but I can get with Mike and see why you guys don't have it.
No,
But it sounds to me like.
right, I mean, as far as we're concerned, we haven't seen that, that's correct.
But it sounds like what I'm hearing is what I put in this letter needs to be put more into what was called a development plan. And I would explain all of these things, and it would fall under the heading.
Yeah, and in some instances, with regard to when you're talking about proposed traffic patterns showing public and private streets, well, those streets would be shown that the traffic patterns, you're not going to be changing any traffic patterns other than where's the entrance into the property? That needs to, is that on this drawing already?
That's on the site plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's on here. And that there might need to be some descriptions that aren't provided. The proposed time schedule for development, well, basically it's there. You're not going to be changing anything in terms of it.
Right.
Are there going to be any changes with regard to landscape?
Right. No.
So if there's not going to be changes, as
Changes to
Joni's,
landscaping. If
I think,
we may request changes to.
we may.
Like, not like the hours or the
Yeah,
landscape.
that sort of
There'll
thing.
be a number of things. You guys can give us feedback
And-
on. That's what I'm hoping at the preliminary meeting,
Yeah.
we can formally discuss any concerns you have.
Yeah, that would,
Make sure-
that's why we would want to see something in writing that we can react to.
I understand way better now, so what you're really, plus that call before helped me to understand that your development plans typically include a lot of other language about how the use is gonna be operated,
Mhm.
hours of use, who's there.
Yeah.
how-
And all that's,
the stuff that I put in here, but I will.
yeah, and all that stuff should be in those examples.
Scenario to get a complete development plan that addresses all of these operations.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely a couple of examples that Mike could give you that are examples of things that were put in place. It's a slightly different kind of operation.
For the landscape,
The landscape company, there's one down on 605. And it's a pretty simple development plan. Now that one actually, that was written up and submitted before they went into operation.
well,
But-
the examples he gave, so it was just confusing to me on what you guys would need for an existing operation that's been there for 6 years.
But as far as we're concerned,
It's new.
It's, yeah,
it's
it's,
new.
Got
In our heads, that for our purposes, it's not something that's been operating. It's going to be new. Because it hasn't been approved. And just because something operated doesn't mean that it can continue to operate the way that it has. There's the potential is there that, he's already cited him for basically not being in compliance, but trying to provide an opportunity to see if there isn't a way that there's a solution that would be mutually acceptable to the zoning commission and to the property owner.
Great.
Okay, I hope that
Thoughts? That would be helpful. I mean, I know we could do a specific preliminary meeting.
yeah, you want to go back and then continue then and do a preliminary meeting. We're
Yes.
going to put something in writing for us to review.
Percent.
I don't know, I haven't seen that, but
I hear you.
maybe you could elaborate further on it.
I will take the information that we submitted and turn it into a development. So that you can understand how we use the property and the details of it.
Yeah,
There just won't have anything about any new construction.
because there won't be any that you're proposing.
That's correct.
That's fine. That's fine, but that's what we will have to see. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad that we needed to have this discussion so that you could get a better picture of what
Yes.
expectations.
100%.
Because it's not an elaborate kind of development plan that has to be submitted. But basically a description of what it is that,
Something that you guys can approve that he has to.
and then once it's approved, that becomes the zoning for that property. Just like you heard the discussion here this evening with the People's Choice operation.
Yes.
They can't change something if it's out of compliance with the plan that's been approved. And in this case, they had. They put a person in the office there and it wasn't approved. So that's what was brought to Mike's attention. Because that's the applicable zoning now. Same thing will be true for Mario. Once it gets approved, whatever goes in that document is what he's bound to continue to operate. Okay? I'm glad that that's helpful to you.
Get that to you all and. Right, the phone there.
Yeah, then we'll schedule it again.
Yes.
Mike still has your check, so it wasn't,
Yeah.
he was holding it because he thought you might decide to pull back and this way he could just hand you the check.
No, we wanna try to make this work, obviously, it's something that we'll try.
Okay.
You guys are amenable, we can at least have the property lines. And put whatever caveats and restrictions, and if you need to change landscaping or whatever, you can understand what you're asking for.
All right. Okay, well, thank you, Scott,
Thank you.
Mario. Appreciate your,
Time.
well, you're very welcome.
I have a question. Just
All
for my
right, good night.
general understanding, why wouldn't this fall under maybe an additional use permit or like an expanded home occupation, something like that?
Because there's no home on the property.
Okay. Even though it's AR1 and it's.
I mean, if he built a home on the property and lived there, then he could potentially operate as a expanded home.
So that's where if there was a home, it could maybe go under a condition.
Well,
Not sure about that.
I'm not so sure, but without there being a home on the property, it's just not even a consideration.
What about a variance?
I beg your pardon?
Variance?
A variance?
No, we don't want to get into allowing the BZA to decide that you can take any parcel in the land, in the township and allow a business to operate. That would be a big mistake. And there's a BZA member saying. I mean, if we allow that to occur,
We'd never hear the end of it.
then there's no reason to have any zoning. You just let the BZA decide everything. And I don't think you do, right? I would, if I were on the BCA.
Variances are not allowed for, they're not allowed for uses. Of this, that type of use.
They, a variance can be allowed, but within the conditions that are specified in the zoning resolution. For, if you look at what's in the BZA, there are some specific conditions identified as to what they can look at in terms of a variance for use and area. And as long as they meet those requirements, but something like this becomes such a a broad use that and then there's no conditions. That it becomes then also very difficult in terms of potential enforcement. Like I've got some concerns about. We had big concerns about a property that was down there on Franklin Road. It's gone back to the BZA a couple of times because of it was approved in the first place by mistake. And it hasn't gone away. I mean, you can't take it back once it's there. But if the property is sold, it's gone. Because a variance doesn't go with the property. It's only valid for the owner as long as they keep the property. Unless the BZA specifically approves it as something that will go with
Garage and service garages, and at that time, you apply. Okay.
Yeah. So the variances are not intended to be basically broad in a sense, but it's when it's a minor kind of thing that needs to be done. But that's why there's a conditional use and there's also in-home occupations that they can.
So does,
Then qualify.
Mike, do you know what the structure that was originally there, what was built in 1980? You know, the use of that was.
On Mario's, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, right now, it's just using it to,
No, but back in 1981,
I can't tell you,
was it just a farm building, storage building?
I'm not sure what it was. I thought, it wasn't.
No, no. So I went and looked, there are 9 surrounding parcels, land buildings around and close to the property. And except for one, they were all purchased before 2019. And they were all existing family homes. I don't know when they were constructed, but I assume they were all built before Mario bought the property. You could see what he was buying into, and the people who were already lived there had an understanding that there was a single storage structure or whatever that shed is. Mario built one that was 1.5 times or 2 times as large. Without, I don't know what Scott was saying about zoning approval in 2019. There wasn't. I don't think anybody came to us and said, "Can we build this building?" Maybe he went to the building department in Delaware, and they said, "Sure, you know." But there was no zoning.
You mean a big one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is that a new one he's got here?
yeah.
yeah.
It's got a permit.
A zoning permit or building permit.
It's got a, well, I don't know about, it's got to be a building, but it does have a zoning.
For the second building.
For the new one he's got back there that he's using.
There may not have had,
Didn't come to us, but
there may not have been a zoning permit.
Wasn't zoning. That bill, Matt did it. But when it came to you guys, he just went to Matt and said, we need accessory. Matt gave us zoning.
He's allowed to build an accessory building. He's allowed to build an accessory building.
Exactly, don't say that.
Yeah,
The accessory building, that's it here.
he's just not allowed to use it as a business. I mean, like that.
And the problem is, he was. Ain't got business there.
Yeah.
Big-
Well, how that happened. And I can understand from his perspective then why he thinks that he's really had permission to do it. Because if he talked to the zoning inspector And the zoning inspector didn't identify any issues. Then,
Let's if he can talk to him. I'm telling you that. You know, I'm saying, now, the attorney is representing. We know who he is. He's a resident of our township, but he's also, in Rome, Columbus,
He's the director.
yeah. And when I first talked to him out here, and I don't know much about Columbus zoning, but he came to me and said, well, you know, they were doing that kind of stuff in the building they bought for the, so as long as he just does that, he's good. And I said, that's all, how it is, our attention.
well, he may, if it's,
So, you know, said, those are the R1s.
yeah,
So I think that's the confusion that Mario thinks he's allowed to do whatever he's allowed to do on there, because the guy before was storing stuff close to what he was doing in the building.
yeah, well, and it's very, I don't know exactly, he's talking about 1988. It was 88, potentially it happened while we didn't have zoning too. Because that's when zoning went into effect, is in what, November of 88?
Right.
And then that would mean that if the use had already been there, it would have been permitted, but it doesn't mean that it could be expanded upon.
Well, the concrete business.
So
Probably not.
obviously it has been expanded because he put up a new structure. That's an expansion.
It expanded and changed, because like I said, I believe it was more of an excavating type of business that was in that building before.
Okay. Well, I think in terms of where they're going to go, they're going to bring us something that we can react to. Because, I mean, we can't just react with the verbal part. It's going to end up having to be in writing, because that becomes what you are responsible for monitoring in terms of enforcement. If somebody complains, you've got to have a document to go back to.
If you find you should be feeling it up,
Right,
that's the question.
right. And same thing that we have here now with the People's Choice facility down there. I mean, there were new issues that were introduced, and I'm not surprised that they, introduced those as well, but you're following up on that.
Yeah.
With the lighting.
Yeah, here's that other thing, but he.
Yeah,
You drive past it at night and it's lit up
I
like,
know it's.
Times Square or something.
And down there, she said, these are set on timers, and show me the timers, and they go off every night to do this and that. But there is a light on the outside that shuts down, but whatever lights it's in that building, it is in that building, so it's gotta be coming off the sheds inside, that's gotta be addressed.
oh, yeah. Well, I'm supposed, whatever the development plan says, but as Joni has already pointed out, it's supposed to be downlighting. It's not supposed to be throwing light onto the neighbor's properties. And the judges, they're way across the street. They're not close at all.
Oh, I mean.
Good example.
I think you light in the front of it.
Yeah.
Just.
Okay. Anything else for the commission tonight?
Yeah.
There are people who've got to get up early in the
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
at least two of us do. Who else is voting up at 5? No, before 5 o'clock. At 4:30, we have 4. All right. Well, at this point then, if there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Brittany moved and it is seconded by Louis. So we have a motion, and is there further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Okay, we are adjourned at 8:56. Wow.
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna go home and actually I'll send you the file for the
Yes,
update.
please.
And then we'll be
Do you have my email?